Welcome back, guys. It has been 3 months and 500 test miles since I got the elusive MOT on this Toyota Soarer after it had been sat untouched in someone's garage for over a decade. Today we're going to sit down and talk about all the things, yes, all the things that have gone wrong with this oh so reliable Toyota. The list is a lot longer than I wanted it to be. Let's go and take a look. Now then, if you've seen the other videos in this series, you'll know that after a little bit of work, the car was coaxed back to life with a new fuel pump, some brakes, some consumables, some servicing, and then the elusive MOT was passed with one advisory, and that was steering rack gaiter boots that were leaky. They were, well, one was shot and one was pretty shot. So I got on the phone to Toyota initially, who quoted me an astronomical price, which was their best price for 2 steering rack boot gaiters. And they said they're only available in Europe, that'll be a couple of weeks. And I thought, well, there must be a better way. So I rang JDM Garage in, I think they're down in Dorset, down south somewhere. And I rang up, I said, guys, can you have a look into this for me, please? They then rang Toyota to get the same parts from Toyota, and they purchased them genuine from Toyota, got them quicker than I could, and they still made money on it and got them for less than half of what Toyota quoted me, which I find to be a little bit wrong, but it is what it is. They turned up, they've been fitted, beautiful, no more leaks, wiped off the under tray because all the oil had fallen off onto the under tray, and every time you went round a corner or parked on an angle it would drip off the under tray. It was annoying. So that was sorted, happy days. Wheels and tyres. I had the wheels, what were they? The little 17-inch split rims, and I didn't want to sell the car with those on, so I sourced all the way from Scotland and I got them shipped down to Bristol, a set of original 15-inch alloy wheels, and they were cheap because they were shot, totally shot. They insert pictures, they were, which is why they were cheap. I think they were shipped down all 4 for like 100 quid or something, and it's over 50 quid to put them on a pallet, which is mental. So that is done, they're all shipped down. I sent them away to a local company in Weston, Allan Automotive. He blasted them, put them in 2K primer, and then put them in a 2K top coat with a lacquer and done the center caps, and they come out spanking. He done a lovely job, and that didn't cost a huge amount of money either. I then shot them in yet more brand new Toyo Proxy tyres, which I played around with the sizes a little bit, and they weren't a huge amount of money. They were all balanced up, fitted to the car, and I went for a test drive, and it was the noisiest thing in the world. Clack, 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 clack. It sounded horrendous because one of the wheel weights was catching on the rear suspension arm. The faster you got, the more the noise went clack, 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 clack. It was very embarrassing. So they were taken off, wheel weights removed, problem solved. All good. And then I was going about my daily duties in this car. I was driving along, and mid-drive, it cut out. And I thought, this is not good. Coasted it into a lay-by, and I thought, we have a problem. Lifted the bonnet, poked around with a few connectors, tried the key, nothing, poked a few more connectors, and it fired back into life. And I thought, I fixed it. It was a loose connection, huzzah! Off onto the road we go, and a couple of miles later, it cut out again. And the symptoms got weirder as we went along. The more I drove it, the worse it would get. Predominantly, it was a non-start. It would just crank and nothing. Now, you could put the ignition on and bridge out the fuel pump on the diagnostics box, and the fuel pump would run, brand new fuel pump. I'd expect it to be good. And then you drive along, and it would just cut out. And you think, shit, where am I going to stop? And then before you indicate, it will cut back in again. And I thought, what the hell? Now, also, in our first bit of driving to the MOT station, I called this car lethargic, sluggish, pathetic, embarrassing, gutless, torqueless, many adjectives that describe a car as being lackluster and not very much fun to drive. And I think the cutting out, the non-star, and the sheer patheticness was due to one issue that has been solved. Now, I was going to go down the rabbit hole of ordering crank sensors for intermittent faults and all that sort of stuff, and then I've done a little bit of reading on the forums, and apparently the capacitors on the ECUs of 90s Toyotas as a whole are the weak spot in the electronics. And I found a company called Gorilla Garage, who predominantly do a lot of Toyota Soarer stuff, 1J, 2J, 1UZFE, that sort of stuff. And for the price that I could buy capacitors and play around with maybe getting it right, maybe getting it wrong, I shipped it to the guy next day, Craig, and he replaced all of the capacitors with really good quality capacitors. He tested it through, tested all the board, all that sort of electronic wizardry. Not my niche, as you know. I'm not an electrician. And the ECU came back, I plugged it in, and not only does the car start, run, idle, and not cut out, which are characteristics that you do look for from a car, it's got so much more torque. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not breaking land speed records by any stretch, but it's got real get up and go from standstill. It kicks down well, it changes well, and it's got the torque that I would associate with a 3-litre straight six from the 90s. I think it's got its power restored, I really do. And it drives beautifully now, and I've done, I don't know, 30-40 miles, quite a few journeys in it, long stuff, motorway stuff, round town stuff, and touch wood, not a chance in this interior. It's been solid. It's been really, really good. What else has gone wrong? I told you there was a long list. Clunky front suspension. When I first drove it, it was beautifully quiet. And then all of a sudden, it seemed to, in a split second, develop a clunky when it was being unsettled over bumps. And I thought, that sounds like drop links. So I ordered a set of drop links. And they were a bastard to fit. Me and Rich fitted those with an angle grinder, a hammer, and a chisel predominantly. It was an absolute pain. They're old, they were rusty, the nuts wouldn't come off, you know, typical 90s drop link job. And I fitted them up, and it has massively improved the noise, but being a perfectionist, being very picky, there's still a little bit of it still sounds like anti-roll bar drop links to me. Maybe it's the rears, I don't know, but it sounds like it's coming from the front. It's 100 times better than what it was. It wasn't even picked up on the MOT as an advisory. There was no play in them, and the ones that we removed were 30 years old, but they seemed pretty good. They didn't, you know, didn't take them off the job and they were like all over the shop. So yeah, apart from that, it's been good. Also, one other thing, the climate control screen and the cigarette lighter didn't work. And then you look on the internet and new climate control screens are like £100 from America, and it's all solder and electronic wizardry and stuff I don't want to be doing. So I took the easy route and I started checking fuses. And I checked the fuse called SIG down here by my right foot. SIG is for cigarette lighter. That fuse had blown, and SIG also powers climate control screen. And I stuck a new fuse in it, expecting it to blow instantly, and it hasn't. And the climate control has come back to life, and even the screen, aside from a little bit of bleeding on the bottom left-hand side, has come back to life. And not only is that the best bit, the car that's been sat for 10 years has air conditioning that works. It's not polar bears' toenails in a bowl of ice cold, but it is colder than ambient. It's chilly in here, you know, I don't need a coat, but at the same time I'm not bleeding up with sweat when it's over 20 degrees outside. So I'm really, really impressed with that. I think maybe a little regas and then sub-zero. Freezing cold. Oh, a gap in the traffic. Don't mind if I do. Yeah. It makes a big difference. It really does. It's not going to break any land speed records whatsoever. But it gets up, it goes, it kicks down, it changes beautifully, and it sounds like it should do. I think it needs a big exhaust and a little bit more induction noise, but the car is, ooh, Bentley Mulsanne, my man, beautiful. I wonder if he wants to do a swap. What was I going to say? The car is going to be put up for sale because if you're new to the channel, you will not know that the funds from this vehicle will go towards the building of 3 garages, which has been going on for many, many years and is coming to an end soon. It really is. But this car will be put up for sale cheap. I think the cheapest one online starts at 6.5 grand. So I want 5. I think that's fair. I think in a market that is very soft at the moment, because let's be honest, people don't have any money, myself included. That's why I'm selling my car. Let's hope it moves relatively quickly. The money will then be spent on very boring plasterboard, plastering, rendering, flooring, skirting boards, painting, electrics, heating, plumbing, water. I've got a lot left to do, don't I? But hey, it is what it is. Another car is finished and all the snagging work is done, and it should provide miles and miles of pain-free, enjoyable, comfy cruiser motoring for the next owner, with a few little bits of bodywork that they can improve as they see fit, or just use it as intended and enjoy it. And when you get a straight bit of road, kick it down and enjoy the new torque. Just revs for days. Fantastic. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy, and I will see you very soon. Bye bye.